Let's talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and it's going to be weird for me to say it, but I need everyone to stop selling and start being interesting. I'm going to teach you how relationships are going to lead to sales. Let's dig into that. Hello everybody, my name is Joe Harris and I am a author of a sales book. I've been doing sales for almost a decade and now I'm doing business consulting for sales strategy. So I have a philosophy that business and building sales is really about building relationships and being genuinely interesting and being interested in other people rather than aggressively trying to sell people. So I'm going to teach you how to be interested in people and how to be interesting by people and how to get people to just have relationships with you and how that is going to lead you to sales. Here's the problem with traditional sales. It's it can be effective, but at the end of the day, I don't think people really want to be sold. I think at the end of the day, people just want to have a relationship and have their problems solved by the people that have the solutions to fix their problems. I was just talking the other day to another salesperson, and they were talking about how they would love to have an SDR, a person just to do the cold calls for them and to fill their pipeline and their calendar with people who want to buy their stuff. That sounds fantastic. Actually, that's a dream for most salespeople to just sit down and do the closing all day at 8 hours a day. That would be fantastic. But really, if you're not a big company that has a well established product, an SDR generally doesn't make sense. And if you are going to put it in place, you absolutely want to make sure that they are trained very, very well on your specific buyer and what it is that they're doing. The other side of that, if you don't do that method right, you're going to end up with a pipeline of people who really don't need what you want, and you're going to end up wasting most of your day talking to people who are going to be an eventual no anyway. Okay, so what am I all about? If we're not going to do SDRs, if we're not going to do systems that are just going to be dropping a bunch of emails of people who want to buy from us into our inbox, what are we supposed to do? Well, I'm going to tell you about the power of being interesting. So I'm not coining this term. This is actually Yvon Chouinard's term, but I consider myself an 80%er. I like to do a lot of things to about an 80% proficiency. So what does that mean whenever I get into a room? That means that I can comfortably talk about a bunch of topics. And I can be at a level that maybe doesn't make sense to everyone, but I can be at a level that may make sense to almost everyone. So you want to talk about cars? Well, I'm not a mechanic. I can't take apart a car and put it together, but I could do some of my own repairs. And I am a fan of cars, so I can comfortably talk about vehicles and cars and everything to other people. So if you want to be interesting, you have to be interested. So it's super important that an interesting person can walk into a room and talk to everybody. And what does that do? That establishes rapport. So if you can walk into a person's office and sit down and look around the room at some of their photos that they have in the room and see a photo of them at Neuschwanstein Castle in Austria. Well, I've never been to Neuschwanstein, but I said it wrong. I've never been there, but I do want to say that that's one of my favorite castles. It was my desktop on my computer for the longest time. So sitting down in a room and talking and being able to talk about that specific castle could maybe lead to sales. At the end of the day, it definitely leads to an ability to have a conversation with somebody, to get to a point to where they like me because we are alike in a lot of ways, in the fact that we have several of the same interests and things like that. So when you sit down in a room, look around the room when you're sitting down with the prospect and try and find ways to build rapport by talking about things that are inside the room that maybe you don't know enough about. Here's a quick tip too, especially if you're talking to somebody who is male. Extending an olive branch and trying to learn from somebody is one of the easiest ways to build early rapport. So you see a picture of them with their hot rod on the wall, and you don't know that much about cars, ask them about their vehicle. Ask them about, like what went into that. How many years did you spend perfecting that thing? Asking questions like that are going to get them talking about things that they like. And that's a pretty simple bridge to get them to where they like you. I can already hear you. You're saying, yeah, but Joe, what have I got to say? Why am I an interesting person? Well, you may just have to make a little bit of investment in yourself, but really talking about different things and reading about different things is not all that difficult. So here's a couple of tips on how you can make yourself a little bit more interesting. First off, listen to people. It's important that you want to sit down and actually have a conversation with people, and you want to learn about who they are and what they happen to be doing, and maybe what their overall story is about, and what their profession has done and their history. So really listening to people and having those stories that you can share with other people later on down the road is super important. So you might be in a room and start talking to somebody about something crazy about college or something like that. And I can sit back and say, oh, you know what? I was actually on some college visit days not that long ago with my own daughter, and here's the colleges that we went to. Where did you go? So you start listening to people and talking about different experiences that they've had, and it's easy to roll those into the conversations that you're having. But that being said, I want every person to go out there and experience and try new things. It's important that you have a wide gambit of things to talk about. And even if it's just through YouTube and watching videos, at least you can start to discuss about your research and what it is that you've been looking at and trying new things, and thinking about trying even. Dreams are always something that's fun to talk about. I also want everyone to invest in themselves. I think it's important that you find mentors or take classes to broaden your knowledge and skills. Maybe something that you're not good at, maybe something that you're interested in doing. Taking a class at your local college or looking for an online course in something is probably not the worst idea in the world. It's important that you make sure that you're investing in your ability to talk to different people, not just investing in your ability to sell, even though that's possible and that's necessary. You want to be able to sell well, but you also want to be investing in yourself as a person and those experiences that make you who you are. Okay, so I get it. Like you're asking me now, you're like, okay, but if I just sit in a room and I talk to people about things that we have in common or things that I'm interested in, how is that ever going to lead to money? Well, here's a couple of quick tips. First of all, it's in the actual description of it. People like to buy things from people, and people like people that are like them. So if you want to be alike, you've got to be likable. And having conversations that aren't just about your solution or just about the way that you can fix people's problems make conversations more engaging and certainly more memorable. So the person I was talking about earlier with Neuschwanstein Castle, which conversation throughout the day do you think he's going to remember? The one where I brought up the memories of his history and his trip to the castle, or the ones where people were just talking about the solutions that they needed to have or the ways that they could fix their problems? I think that's an easy answer. Building genuine relationships are based on shared interest. It's not based on the facts that you can fix everyone's problem or that you're an authority figure in it, though I won't disagree that that's important. But it is also a very big portion of it to just simply be a shared interest, be a person that is like them, so that when they see your number come across the caller ID or they see your name in the email, it brings back memories of good conversations, not just conversations about a product and how it works. This is what doctors usually call bedside manner, making sure that people are comfortable in talking to you and what you want to be. And it also establishes the fact that you're more than just a salesperson. You're a valuable connection. You might be somebody that they can talk to about their hobbies or their thought processes or their skills, or have common ground on kids or anything like that. It makes you an interesting person. It makes you have some of that value that's not just about being a person who can provide a product or a solution or a service. You're an actual person, and that's what you want. People are going to buy from people that they like. It's that simple. Call to action time. What do you do from here? Well, first off, take my advice and get out into the world and start experiencing some things. Building that repertoire of things that you can talk about, even at an 80%er. Like, I don't know anything about wilderness survival, but I did take a class in it one time, and I can tell you about that experience. But who knows if that's going to come in handy, but it's something that I've done in my life. So go out there and start building a long history of doing different things so that it makes you more of an interesting person, so that you can be interesting to other people. There's also a lot of actions inside of my book that will help you with some of those actions, that will help you with learning some of the capabilities of what you can do and some tricks of the trade that I've learned over 10 years. You can also see the link below and you can get directly in touch with me if there's something that I can help you with. I'd be happy to help and happy to talk about, or just put it in the comments below and we can have a conversation right here on YouTube. Until then, we'll see you next time. Good luck.